Conservation Commission meeting for Wednesday, February 14th, 2024. Please be advised that this open meeting is being broadcast live by Westford Cable Access and recorded for playback online, video on demand viewing at a website that's listed on the agenda. Attendees are reminded that by attending this meeting, you consent to your likeness and audio being used and rebroadcast by Westford Cable Access TV. The first item on our agenda is open forum. Do any members of the commission have anything for open forum? Matt?
No.
Do any members of the audience have something for open forum? Okay, moving on to our next agenda item. We have a request for certificate of compliance for 55 Graniteville Road.
Good evening, Jeff Hannaford here for the applicant. We were in previously for an amendment to the original order concerning the deck. That was approved, and now we're back for the certificate of compliance. The only question we really had was when the amendment was approved, it was approved with a condition regarding a tree being planted. The owner would like to have the COC sooner rather than later. Considering the time of year, it'll probably could be a few months before we're able to get the tree in and planted. So we wanted to put forth the request and see if the request could be granted with some sort of condition regarding that planting. If you want some money put into an escrow or something in writing from me, it's my responsibility, or condition that I work it out directly with Matt, whatever you feel is
That would work for me.
adequate.
I mean, it's in the COC request. I
trust Jeff.
I mean, the property owner has been, amenable. There was the property boundary issue. Unaware of that, and they've been very amicable to resolve issues. So I don't see.
I don't have trouble with that. With a letter, saying that they will do this.
It's in the packet.
So it actually is part of the request for the certificate?
Yep.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, the only thing, in looking at the as-built plan, the only thing that I had noticed was the firewood storage, which is straddling the 55 structure setback. No, it's not a permanent structure. I suppose if somebody in the future decided to make it a more permanent structure, I guess it being on this plan does not necessarily mean it's approved, correct?
No, I mean, and in terms of it, certainly there are provisions of the act as a minor activity. The stocking of firewood. Okay. And again, in terms of, in the event this turns into a bigger shed or something of the like, certainly, I mean, there's also a very large barn there. I don't know why you'd want another shed, but teach their own.
Okay.
But if it did need a building permit, it would come before my review, and so we could certainly, certainly would likely require the commission's review as it's within 100 feet of a jurisdictional wetland.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not an enclosed structure. It's all open on one face. It is temporary. There's no piers or foundation or slab or anything like that. So
okay.
It's just, like Matt mentioned, your regulations would allow firewood to be stockpiled. It's just this instead of putting a tarp over it to protect it.
So can I have a motion to issue this? Yes, Marilyn. Oh. Can I have a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for DEP file number 334-1807?
So moved.
With the one exception of the tree planting, that'll be.
Yeah, as conditioned in the request.
As conditioned in the request.
Okay.
Yep, second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to our other 7 PM agenda item, it's an order of conditions compliance for 31 Bridge Street.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chris.
Happy Valentine's Day for everybody.
Same to you.
Oh, thank you.
So, you wanna?
Sure. Following the last meeting where members of the commission wanted to go out, do a site visit, inspect the remaining metal storage containers, that was performed. I don't have the date.
I think it was the 7th, maybe?
Early February. Yeah.
Yeah.
Around the 7th.
Actually, yeah. Is that
That sounds about right.
January 31st, because I stamped them
Oh,
as
okay.
received. How about that? We were able to inspect the remaining metal storage containers. No prohibited items were observed. In addition, Chris was able to obtain signatures and acknowledgement by the remaining container users.
Yeah.
And so we have, acknowledgement of the people using the storage containers on site. A couple may be being removed permanently. Others in the future, this year will be moved per the special condition to outside, further from the wetland resources as currently they exist.
Yeah, we haven't been able to do it because the ground's just been too soft.
Too soft and too
Yeah.
frozen, yeah.
Well, not frozen enough.
Jim?
Probably ought to go over, do our site visit recording before we,
Right, yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to handle.
Okay,
Okay.
you wanna,
all right. So around, well, it was around.
January 31st.
All right, 31st, I guess. I thought it was later, but that's fine. We went over, it was Margaret, Matt, and myself, and Chris. And we went through the property and took a look at using the site improvement plan for 31 Bridge Street. We went to all the tractor trailer storage containers that are in the vicinity and looked at them with respect to the prohibited item storage that we've written down and agreed to. So it's things like no fuel storage, no petroleum product storage, no herbicides or insecticides, that kind of thing. The type of materials that we did find in there are not really of concern. There was wires, wire rope, window storage, lawnmowers, motorcycle. So you may have a small amount of lubricating oil within the engine, but none of the floors had any gasoline or oil spilled on them, and there were no insecticides, herbicides, or anything like that in them. And so all of them appeared to be weather tight. And the ones that were gonna be removed, some of them already had been, some of the ones that were in the closest vicinity to the wetlands. So we were satisfied with the visit.
That's good.
okay. And I know when we were, Marilyn, I think you led the discussion, but not last meeting, but I think the meeting before, there was a discussion about rescinding the enforcement order fine when we had compliance with providing these forms. So, did you want to make a motion?
I'd make a motion that since the inspection has proven that what we have asked for is not given, that we remove the fine.
Can I have a second? Second.
Discussion?
Discussion?
All right. This sort of brings to an end a very long sordid tale of how long it took us to get this area cleaned up. It had been quite the mess with asphalt in the waterways.
We,
And
We did first.
it's gone on way, way, way too long, like
Mhm.
years. Matt,
3.
3 years? Okay.
my son started this process, and he passed away 3.5 years ago.
And we didn't start it then, so it's more than 3.5 years. It's probably four.
But it's
4 or
done.
5
Maybe
years.
It was 4 in February.
Okay,
But
4 years
and part of it was the site plan. We, until you folks helped me out finding a site engineer. It was an impossibility. I mean, I called people and never got calls back. I mean, if you saw the list that I grabbed from old phone books and new phone, and off the internet, I called, if I made 100 calls, that would have been a small number.
Anyway, my point is that 4 years plus to clear out these violations, just really unsatisfactory. I think if we ever have to get back there again with problems with dumping in the wetlands or too close to the wetlands, or storage of prohibited materials or things like that, which we will check periodically.
Oh,
I'm not gonna be, I think I'll be abstaining from eliminating the fine, but I'm not happy with how long it took. It's just, it should never take that long. I can't believe we had that much patience. That's it.
Any more
second?
comments before we vote?
And a second.
And it's seconded, okay. All those in favor? Aye.
I'll
All
abstain.
those abstain, or, okay. So,
thank you.
there's 5 in favor and 1 abstention, so that means that we've rescinded the fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Thank you. And we'll be keeping it as, if somebody puts something in there, it'll be not with my knowledge, so when you come and visit, yeah,
Happy Valentine's Day.
not a problem. We'll work on it.
Take care. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
You're welcome.
Moving on to our 7:05 PM agenda item, we have a continued public hearing for Kilpatrick, 5 Drawbridge Road.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Maureen Harold, North Environmental Services, here on behalf of the homeowner this evening.
Thank you.
Okay, so I wanted to provide an update to the commission from the last time I was in front of you. I think that was about a month ago, give or take. One of the requests we received was to show the septic systems relative to this lot and the adjacent lot. The neighbor at number 7 Drawbridge Road had concern regarding the new work and any type of runoff relative to her septic system. The good news is the tank is located behind the house at number 7, and the leach field is in front of her home. So I believe that would alleviate any type of concern relative to runoff from the addition. I verify that the addition itself is on and is proposed as a full foundation. We added a dewatering area on the plan as well as a detail that's shown on the plan. The rear and side walkway wasn't fully shown, so now that is fully shown on the plan. Last time I was in front of you, I made an error because I thought the single-family addition was entirely proposed on the rear patio, and it is not. So I just want to make that clear to the commission this evening. A portion of the addition or 196 square feet is proposed within the existing patio. The remaining 264 square feet is proposed within an area of lawn. We are not proposing to take down any trees or shrubs, as that is within an area of lawn. We are requesting that the patio be rebuilt, because obviously that patio will get damaged from excavating for a full foundation for the addition if that is approved by the commission. And lastly, Matt and I had an interesting site visit. So we went out to the site to check the resource areas, verify the bordering vegetated wetland. And wetland flags 3C and 4C were missing in the field. The reason why they were missing in the field was some of the vegetation was removed. I spoke to my client regarding the vegetation removal, and that apparently was the result from some enthusiastic landscapers. So as a result of that, we said, okay, let's get the flags reestablished. So the professional land surveyor went out, staked the flags as shown on the plan. We performed another site visit on Monday. And wanted to come tonight to the commission and discuss how you would like to proceed, if that's appropriate, or how I can resolve this issue with the cutting. And I can open it up to the commission.
So, you know, the House predates the town's adoption of the, state's adoption of the Wetlands Protection Act and the town's adoption of the local bylaw, in so much as the existing lawn, you know, continues up to the edge of the bordering vegetated wetlands. I think, you know, establishing a 20 to 30 foot buffer with conservation posts, you know, renaturalizing that, you know, within the first growing season, you know, it certainly can be conditioned as a special condition to, you know, make sure it gets done. It also, you know, precludes the occurrence of enthusiastic landscapers, once again, you know, clearing a little bit, you know,
Makes
too
it
much.
Well, the
Very
posts would
clear.
certainly help, so.
You're right, posts and then, you know,
Yeah.
and it does
And
establish
then
buffer,
shrubbery
you
or,
know.
yeah, buffer, I mean, that's fine.
So would you also want to see that included on the plan so it becomes part of the
Yeah,
plan
I think that
record?
would be, you know, helpful, you know, helpful to have on the plan, and, you know, if the commission doesn't have any other additional questions, I can certainly,
Yeah, I think having it on the plan, because that way it can be, you know, in terms of, we've given some parameters for the depth of that buffer, and if the homeowner has particular locations, do they, you know, is if it's on the plan, then it's something we're agreed to. I think the only other thing would be that if it's revegetated, if there are plantings that are happening, that they need to be native species
Sure.
rather than non-native.
Right, I wanted to come tonight just to get a direction from the commission, because I know at one point with conversations with Matt should it be handled under enforcement order, or would it be more appropriate to include it in this filing? Either way works for me.
Hate to have to do an enforcement order.
Yeah.
I like
Prefer to do it in the
Matt's
filing.
idea with the conservation posts as part of the plan.
Yeah, that it, yes, and get it into the plan or record so that it's there where people are most likely to look for
Going forward, yeah.
documentation.
Okay. So you want me to come back, show the conservation post on the plan, as well as lists of native plantings?
Do we?
We could get that as,
Yeah.
and then do the order at the same time.
Well, and if they're not clear on what they want for plantings now, it's the kind of thing that in, you know, any planting plan could be reviewed and approved by our agent, so they don't have to have figured it out
Ahead of time.
ahead of
Yeah.
time.
Okay. Okay,
That way we're also not having to
No
do.
way can move you forward.
Yes,
okay.
If it's gonna be plantings outside the conservation post, it would also be, they'd be installed, ensure that they're growing, and then be left alone to renaturalize, right? They're not gonna be maintained out past the posts.
No. No, that's not the proposal. I spoke to the homeowner regarding that. You know, it's going to be naturalized. It won't be landscape beds or look like a golf course or anything like that.
Great,
so.
thank you. That sounds good. I like the idea, Matt.
Are there any comments or questions from members of the audience on this application? Oh, okay. So then I think at this point, you'll be giving us a new plan. Matt will be drafting the orders of the conditions, so you'd want us to come back at the next meeting?
Please,
Okay.
yes.
Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to February 28th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Great, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Moving on to our 7:10 PM agenda item. It's a public hearing for O'Hearn, 113 Lowell Road.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, February 14th, 2024, at 7:10 p.m. in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the notice of intent application of Rebecca O'Hearn for removal of approximately 1,909 square feet of pavement, restoration of approximately 1,350 square feet area, and construction of an approximately 816 square foot addition to a single-family dwelling, portions of which are within 200 feet of a perennial stream at 113 Lowell Road.
That pretty much covers it. So as mentioned, we're planning on removing about 1,350 square feet of current paved asphalt driveway and restoring that to pervious landscaping using all drought-tolerant native species.
Awesome.
Your name for the record.
Oh, Rebecca O'Hearn, sorry.
In the proposed addition?
A portion of the proposed addition is within the 200-foot riverfront. There are no other, other jurisdictions.
Items within our jurisdiction.
Yeah, and
Yes.
so it's just within the
No, that's fine.
riverfront, redevelopment of riverfront area.
So you're just removing the asphalt, taking it off the site,
Yeah.
really naturalizing, and that'll be that.
Yeah, and just, it's faint on the plan, actually it's clearer on the plan than it is on, but here's the approximate 200-foot riverfront, so it's really just kind of the addition of this mudroom or connection between the existing dwelling and the garage addition.
And then the removal of the
And plus the
pavement.
removal, and that would, you know, if that in and of itself would be a minor activity under the act, you know, converting from pavement to pervious.
Just want to make sure they're taking it off the site, not burying it somewhere, you know. or-
Yeah.
Any comments or questions from members of the commission? Any comments or questions from members of the audience? Okay, so this requires an order of conditions?
Yes, so I'd recommend continuing to the commission's next meeting on the 28th. I'll draft special conditions and provide them to the applicant and in the commission's meeting packet.
Sounds like a plan.
That's fine with
Okay
you?
with me.
It's fine with us.
Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to February 28th?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
So Matt will be in touch via email. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our 7:20 PM agenda item, continued public hearing and issue order of conditions for Jack and Clara Farmstead LLC, 400 Littleton Road.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Tedford. I'm a civil engineer with Hancock Associates. So, previous meeting, we presented a revised site plan with the pier shifted 8 feet further from the resource area, as well as a handful of other tweaks. And then, in the meantime, we didn't have a Mass DEP file number. That's since been resolved. We received our file number. And I think the only thing that was really left on the table was restoration plan. Commission had spoke about basically providing the area, if you're looking at the plan, the bottom left corner of the building, that portion within the 30-foot no disturb. Provide that at a 2-to-1 ratio somewhere on site. So we kind of have two options at our disposal now. So what you see here is an area adjacent to the Sawmill Arcade. See the wetland flags kind of in that triangular formation. That area right there meets our, it ended up being 220 square feet within a building within the 30-foot no disturb. This area here meets that 440 square foot requirement, the 2-to-1 ratio. from last time, as well as 3 additional plantings within that area. And then additionally, Matt and Ed Dumont, who is the general manager of Kimball's, went on site to discuss kind of what Matt had brought up previous meeting about across the street over a parcel of land where the owner's septic system is. And what you see here is us basically letting the 50-foot buffer renaturalize. The hatched area is essentially just the flags delineated from the project that installed the septic system. Extended out 50 feet, and we're just allowing it to naturalize, installing some sort of barrier, instructing landscapers to no mow. There are small portions that they will have to maintain. Those are groundwater monitoring wells that they just need access to. So, be basically a small path that we wouldn't be able to let naturalize. But overall, this is over 80,000 square feet of buffer zone that will now be allowed to naturalize. Yeah, that's what we came up in the meantime. Be happy to discuss any other comments or questions that the commission has. And I guess also we received the draft order of conditions. I didn't have any issues with any of them. It seemed pretty standard. It was all. Yep. So the team overall is comfortable with the presented conditions.
Any comments or questions from the commission?
I have a couple of one question about 2 items. The proposed area here and here have monitoring wells. What are those for, and why are they in those locations?
So I believe it was part of the DEP approval for the leaching field.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's for sampling measures.
That distance away.
Make sure it's functioning properly.
They were concerned about breakout or that kind of thing?
They just would put it in there as part of just making sure it's functioning properly.
Yeah, it monitored,
Probably
groundwater levels rising and lowering as well as sampling.
So they're not doing it across the street? I mean, this is across the street, but they're not going to be doing the replication in that same general vicinity where they were showing us before? They were showing us this
I mean, I
location?
would, in my mind, I think establishing the buffer here, it is adjacent to, the significant wetland.
No, I just wanted to make sure it was one or the other and not both.
I think, that was my intent was, one or the other.
I like the idea of the replication area being in close proximity to the
So do
impact-
I. That's
to the
what we
impact.
always typically
And
ask
that's-
for.
Right, except that with the crowds and the people activity here, unless we fence it off with a 6-foot fence, it's gonna get trampled, walked on, and visited by customers and that sort of thing, whereas across the way here, a naturalized buffer like this it's a much bigger area too. So I know I like the idea. It's always a good idea to do it in the same vicinity as the impact, but this is way better.
Well, then let's note why we're doing it across the street,
All right.
because you're right. That's not my first choice either, but I hear what you're saying.
But I just think we get a much better deal with the buffer across the street.
So you're saying that the proposed buffer on the other side of Route 110 is the preferred option because it's so much more extensive and it provides a better buffer to a very large wetland?
Yes, and that area is likely to remain naturalized,
Okay,
as opposed to the one in the vicinity of the new building, which is gonna have some impacts from people.
People,
No matter
yeah.
what they do, it's gonna have impacts to people, by people.
okay. And we'll make sure that this sentence gets in the minutes. Any other comments or questions? I had kind of a question in my mind, reading the structural engineering letter. There were some qualifiers in terms of, they thought that as the plans came together, that there might be you know, that they might have to provide additional recommendations to you. Is that something that you're anticipating as well?
Yeah, so, and I get your kind of confusion, because I had to read their letter a few times to understand exactly what they were getting at, but I think it's important to note that the building itself is being prefabricated off-site. So it's, you know, it's being built off-site, it's gonna be brought on-site and assembled. We had already kind of discussed during the last meeting that some of these piers might need to be sistered, where the alignment of the columns may or may not line up with the existing concrete piers.
Okay.
And then they mention also in that letter that in the event that the piers do not line up and a footing cannot be provided for whatever reason, they may need to reinforce a column or a beam. And that's just as a note to the installer that he might have to, you know, install like a
Okay,
plate
so
or
we're
another
not-
member to support it in that sense.
So we're not likely to, so it's not the kind of, still looking at things where you might be coming back with a request to amend the plan?
No, and that's why the previous plan submitted, they noted that you know, 16 piers could be sistered, and we showed that on the previously submitted plan as kind of a way to cover our base in case that happens.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Matt, do you have anything?
Has Natural Heritage responded?
No, they haven't responded yet. I don't think we're not within, you know, the 30 days
Right,
for us to give us their
yeah.
ruling. So that's kind of, I know previously in 2011 they issued a no take. So yeah, we're just kind of going through their process now.
So that's my only, you know, whereas
And would
it's-
they want us to issue the orders and then close, and then National Heritage have a question or something and require us to revisit
yeah,
the issue?
that's my only concern.
Yeah, no, I got it.
I mean, but, you know, if it's, you know, if, you know, a no-take letter.
Willing to proceed like that, then it's their choice. They
But
can
I-
ask us to issue the orders and close the public hearing.
That they can, that's very true.
Hadn't we also talked about tree replacement in addition to the,
Yeah, I think they were, I mean,
What do we think, right?
it's in kind of the
You put that in the order?
first,
Yeah, so it's listed there.
in the first wetland replication plan that shows the 440 square feet of replication. And in, across the street, I think it was not included on the 80,000 square feet of renaturalization buffer. That's up to the commission of whether to want that included or.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what we want for mitigation, you know, then we've got to have that memorialized somewhere.
So,
there was an elm.
So I think in the
poplar.
previous plan, we had noted, you know, we're removing 2 trees, so we were proposing 3. And we were doing it in this area because that was the area marketed, but,
What area are you gonna put them?
on the, I guess the first option we discussed, this one here.
See where he has the 3 trees in that area that was gonna be
Yep,
the restoration area? He's just gonna just plant those trees there.
That's that's the replacements for the poplar and the elm that were removed just inside the 30-foot.
yes, yeah, it's on the other side of the plan here. And even if, I think the commission would amendable that these, you know, trees be spread out, I think the area where we're planting them, it's rather dense in terms of, if you look, we have, you know, more than a handful of trees. If they would be amenable for us spreading those out, then I think that's totally fine too, as long as they're within the 100-foot buffer.
And put them far enough away from your building so that when they invariably lean towards the open air, you're not gonna be coming back in a few years to have them, to cut them.
Yes.
well, I guess the only question is looking, there are already a number of trees, existing trees in that area. If we're adding 3 more,
Well, I think the point was, I think Russ's point was to locate 3 additional trees on the property
okay,
within the 100-foot buffer not as shown on, yeah.
Okay, so instead of the
Or
three
away
here,
from
the
the
three will
building,
be
right?
across the street.
Yeah, I think it just, an
Okay.
area where it's not so dense, I think, is probably better suited if we.
Where the-
Okay. Okay, so it will be allowing that area, that portion of the buffer zone to renaturalize, and somewhere in there will also be.
So are we
trees.
doing this across the street, or are we doing this in the general vicinity?
We're doing it across the street is what's
For the
been-
trees too?
That's
I
what I've,
I understood the reason for the buffer. The trees I don't quite get, because we could put the trees somewhere closer to be where they're taking down. And we always try to get them as close as we can to where they're being taken down.
yes.
So somehow, while I hear Jim's argument for the restoration across the street, I don't necessarily agree with the tree planting.
Matt, can you bring that? Okay, so where they had originally proposed it,
Those three, I mean, couldn't they find just locations in the general vicinity here to put three more?
and
Sorry,
I just-
yeah, I think.
If I could
Yeah.
speak, if I could speak.
Yes.
Ed Dumont, I'm the general manager. Honestly, that is no problem, because Peter Kimball has also mentioned that he does want to put more plantings. And Matt, we could walk around and pick out the places that you would like them to be.
Okay.
That is
Yeah.
not a
That
problem
works.
I
at
think
all.
it, yeah, what I was just trying to get at is that it can be more flexible than the area that.
No, and I totally got what you said, and I liked that. I just was like, well, let's try to find a place to put three back
Oh,
here.
yeah,
Well, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, and that's,
and thinking ahead that someplace that they thrive, they're not then going to
we're not
become-
gonna have to come back
They're
and
not gonna be a
further
risk
trim
to a
or,
building
yeah,
or
manage.
such.
Correct.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, I could work with Matt
Okay.
on that.
Good
Yeah,
enough.
I'm fine with that.
That
No
okay with you?
problem with that.
Yeah, I can certainly
Okay, good.
add a special condition to that effect, so if
Okay.
there's one that
Sounds
isn't.
good to me, too.
Me too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions on this project from members of the audience? Nope. Okay, so there's an amended, we have a draft order of special conditions, and you had talked about just now amending that to add the language about, three replacement trees being located somewhere on site. And that you and the applicant would agree on the location and the species.
Yes.
Okay. So, can I have a motion to issue the amended order of conditions?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I,
Did we ask everybody that they're all happy with these orders? We're good? And now we're gonna close the public hearing, and you're good with that, okay?
okay. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Okay,
Just wanna make sure.
thank you all very
Thank
much.
you.
Very much, everybody. I
Okay.
appreciate this.
No, thank you very much for being so accommodating.
Just you.
Okay. Moving on to our 7:25 PM agenda item. It's a public hearing for Yang, 88 Tadmok Road.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, February 14th, 2024, at 7:25 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the notice of intent application for Jinghuai Yang for an abandonment of an existing septic tank and leaching area and installation of a new septic tank and leach field, replacement of a well, and installation of a drop inlet and drain manhole within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands at 88 Tadmok Road.
Good evening, everyone.
So my name is Robert Melvin. I work with Stamsky and McNary. I'll be representing the applicant for the hearing of a notice of intent at 88 Tadmok Road. Okay, so what we have here is a sewage disposal plan. The existing sewage disposal system at the home is failing as determined by a Title V inspection. So we are proposing to replace that existing system with no increase in flow. So this site is a bit tricky. As you can see, we have bordering vegetated wetlands to the, I believe it's the north of the site. And that projects a 100-foot buffer zone onto almost the entirety of the site. We also have located the neighbors' wells in the vicinity of the property, as well as any nearby septic systems. So any wells or systems that you aren't seeing are not within, I believe it's up to 150 feet of the property line. So as you can see, there are 2 wells across the street projecting their 100-foot well radius onto the property. We have a leaching field located at the neighboring property. So we are fairly constrained at this site, keeping in mind we have to maintain 20-foot setback from the leaching field to the building, 10-foot setback to the property lines. The leaching field must be 100 feet from all well radiuses, or sorry, all wells. And as you can see, like we're very constrained here, so we've sort of had to think about how we can balance our constraints here and design a system to the maximum environmental protection. So we've looked at the far corner of the front of the site there as a good place, keeping outside of those 2 well radiuses there. And then also trying to stay as far away from the bordering vegetated wetlands in the back as possible. So the design of the proposed leaching area is accomplishing that to the maximum possible. So the other issue with the site is that the existing well, it's tough to see here, but it's actually in the front yard to the left of their driveway there.
It's a laser pointer next to you.
Oh, thank you. So we have our well right there. And that is not a great spot considering it's about 20 feet from the proposed leaching area. So we are proposing a new well on the site. Unfortunately, we've determined that the best placement for the well would be right up against that edge of the wetlands there. I believe there's about a 1-foot setback from the edge of those wetlands. And as you can see, this is being controlled by not only our proposed leaching area, but the neighboring proposed leaching area. We have to keep in mind that we must stay over 100 feet from theirs, and taking into consideration, we don't want to create any hardships for any neighbors, first and foremost. So we've had to take a reduction to that setback to our own proposed well on this lot. So instead of the 100-foot setback, we're actually providing, I believe that's 69.5 feet. So we're playing with that balance there. Something else that's going on I'd like to draw your attention to is the very front of the lot there. To the left of the driveway on the road, there's an existing drain line that goes underneath the road there. It's coming out from the other side, and it's dumping water straight onto the property. You can see there's just a lot of erosion in that area. And we don't want to be sending more runoff over the leaching field than we have to. That could potentially flood the system and cause a failure. So in an effort to get rid of that water coming out from that culvert there, we're proposing a small drainage system with a mini manhole and is a manhole with a beehive cover. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. I think I have a detail of that on the next page. But that's sort of like an open grate that'll sit in the middle of the lawn there. So we've kind of created this low point for all the water just to get into that manhole, and then we pipe it off pipe it around the leaching area and toward the wetland just to prevent flow over that leaching field.
You show me where that drainage goes to? It's from these 2 devices here, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
This is the drain?
Yes, so you follow that, and then it outlets right over here, just as we get past the leaching field. So, there are a series of reductions we can take in regard to Title V, called local upgrade approvals. These Title V sort of offers a guideline in which the order you should be taking these, I guess you could call them waivers. And they're in the order of the maximum environmental protection. So we've gone ahead and followed the local upgrade approvals and taken reductions where necessary. I've already pointed out the well is being reduced there. We've also got a setback to the drainage system, which I believe is typically 25 feet. As you can see, it's very close there. I think that's 7 feet at its closest point there. Again, very necessary for a working system and not posing a risk to its failure. Just pointing out a couple other things. We have a proposed soil stockpile area in the back left corner of the house. We've got our septic tank in the back of the house, as well as a pump chamber to get up to that leaching field. Again, we must maintain 10-foot setbacks to the building foundation, as well as to the proposed water line. And we were able to achieve this with a greater than 25-foot setback to the bordering vegetative wetlands. And so one more thing I'd like to get into here is the construction and how that's all going to play out here. The driveway is very, very steep. As you come down, it's tough enough with a passenger vehicle just to get down there. So access with construction vehicles is going to be very tricky here. We're starting to work with a well installer, Skillings, as well as a septic installer to sort of figure out what's needed here to gain access to the site. And, you know, I think we're going to prepare something more formal for the commission, but just to quickly go over what our thoughts are right now is we think we're going to need to build some sort of ramp off of Tadmuck Road just to get onto where the proposed leaching field is. And that is to get the well driller onto the site and down to where the location of the proposed well is to drill that area. We've opened up a siltation barrier. It's quite a large area, but I did talk with someone at Skillings who told me this would be the approximate area needed to operate the drilling rig. We've got a proposed slurry pit very close to that proposed well. So essentially, as he is drilling the well, any of the pumped material will be pumped to that pit. And from that pit, we're pumping it to a larger containment pit located upsite. I can just point that out here. It's just down of the leaching area here. So, as far as sequence, the well installation clearly must come first because we do not want construction vehicles driving over the top of that leaching area. So then, after the well has been installed, next, the installation of the system will occur. Similarly, they're going to need an access ramp down to the site in order to excavate out material for the septic tank and leaching field installations. But more work is needed to sort of solidify this plan and ensure we can get access to the site while also protecting the bordering vegetative wetlands in the back there. So as you can see, I proposed a siltation barrier around the entire site or downstream of the work. And, you know, we believe, although this plan was very tricky and it may not look great on paper, we believe this is the best design possible given the constraints at this site. I'll stop talking now and open it up for the commission to ask any questions.
It's just a tight site.
What's in the vicinity of the drainage outflow on the neighboring property? Because that's really close to the line there. Or you-
That's vegetated now with, pines.
Nothing that would be damaged by an excess of water in that area?
I can certainly review and take a photo,
Looks like
for
if
the
there's
commissions.
any overflow would just
For the
go parallel with the
You know, it-
property line straight downhill.
Yeah, I can certainly take a photo, stop out again, take a photo, and,
You know, if
I'd
there's
recommend-
if there's been erosion up on the road that we're trying to eliminate, we may be just moving the erosion to someplace else.
right, well, and so, I mean, and that's existing currently between the road and, you know, the wetland. It's, you know, the flow and, topography of the area is, you know, flowing to the east, you know, and so, you know, I think it is, you know, between the, you know, the, flared end and, rock outfall detail, you know, which is, common best management practice for, you know, tailing and outlet.
Would it be beneficial maybe to extend it further and put it, and bring the,
I defer to, you know, the engineer on that as to whether it's, you know, I think minimizing it and allowing it to travel over land, you know,
soak in to some extent? and
yeah,
travel-
I think that would be, but I defer to Robert.
So with this advanced Presby system, is there still a 4-foot separation? Or is it less than 4 foot? Isn't the standard 4 foot?
Yeah, so with the Presby alternative system, you are allowed to reduce the required separation by 2 feet. I can't,
So is it less than 4 feet in this location? I'm just kind of curious as to, you know, the separation, which is typically, is it now 2 feet? Is it 3 feet? Or, you know, are you getting some relief by using the system?
yeah, we are getting some relief there. We're taking, you know, every bit of relief we can with this design. Another benefit of Presby that we really like that works here is that you're able to reduce the required leaching area. So this footprint is actually much smaller than what a conventional layout would be, and you can actually see well, sort of hard to see, but there's the dotted or the dashed lines underneath the proposed system is what a conventional system would look like. So that would bring it closer.
And it probably would have been mounded versus this doesn't look like it's really all that mounded.
Exactly, yep. You'd have to bring that conventional system up more, and while this system is sort of more meeting existing grade almost. So there will be fill over the top, but it's pretty minimal here.
In the detailed diagram on the next page, they show the separation of the pipes as 5.6 feet.
Yeah, I get that. That's the distance between the pipes, but not the vertical distance between pipe and groundwater.
I thought you were interested.
Actually,
in
it
The
is,
profile does show that as well.
it does, we're
I think it
figure out
bottom
where-
left
yeah,
there.
trying to figure out where it is on the plan.
Yes, so you can see if you look at the rectangle all to the top
Yeah.
right of that profile, and then you look right underneath it, there's a dimension 2 foot offset, 2 foot min.
Okay, I see
Typically,
it.
that's where you'd see the 4 foot min. That's
Okay.
usually required.
And you've got enough space that, that you can kind of, the ground can be sloped to connect back in with the existing grade.
Right, right.
Okay. You know, I know we're going for maximum feasible compliance. I believe the site is heavily wooded. About how many trees, mature trees need to be taken down?
So I met Matthew Salem at the site earlier this week, and I believe you counted about 20-ish.
Let's say 20
Okay.
in that area. You know, the detail shows, you know, the area of clearing, certainly the area of, you know, clearing with respect to the well. There aren't actually as many mature trees in that area.
On the slope?
Yeah, and the ground cover is mostly, I think it's myrtle. It's a, you know, native ground cover that's, there's not actually any, even, you know, the, you know, existing kind of the area, in there. It's not existing lawn. You know, it's just kind of a native ground cover. So, that's beneficial if that can get reestablished in, the area, the well area, the area by the well. But also, I spoke with Robert about identifying what mechanisms could, allow for some renaturalization, or, not just lawn over the existing system. What can we kind of, mitigate, through, but it is very heavily pined, particularly up in this area. But the ground cover that's there existing, obviously was tolerant of the soils, so that's something to be considered in terms of mitigating lawn, or
Well, yeah, you're gonna have to have lawn over the leach field.
right, or something that's maintained in so much as but obviously you don't want woody growth growing into the again, let's not
Clover.
clover, some form of low growing, maintained biennially or something, mowed every couple months, as opposed to managed as turf.
How do we mitigate the trees being taken down? Is there room on the property?
What'd you say?
Talking about getting the trees replanted somewhere else.
I don't know if you could get trees, but it could certainly, again, I mean, most of the wetland is tree, is very heavily treed with pines. There are some other, deciduous species in there. Kind of that northeasterly corner that's not being cleared certainly has existing pines. And then also to the kind of due east of the dwelling, and the southeast of the dwelling is very mature pines as well. I think we could certainly find some shade tolerant shrub, areas, within that, particularly by the well, because again, once the well gets installed, the water line's installed, there isn't that much maintenance of, the roots won't impact that. Whether it's, native shrub, a heavily, shrubbed planting plan, because again, but again, it needs to be, shade, very, very shade tolerant, and, and that's something we can certainly, that is a concern. It's, there's a
I
lot.
have an out-of-the-box idea. We were meeting with the tree warden for Earth Day and Arbor Day. Could this be something where they would donate trees to something like that for around town?
I know in speaking with the tree warden and kind of, the seedling program, he is looking to get, private property. The intent is to get, seedlings out to private property owners to put on private property to, just increase overall tree canopy. Again, I just don't know if the timing of things work, because I think he's looking to get those earlier in April, kind of around Arbor Day. And I don't know if this is going to be.
That this work, because of the steepness of the slopes, this work may need to be, we may need to plan when, like would we want them doing this in March?
I mean, I think again, the septic system's currently in failure, so it's.
Well,
I don't know if we can,
Thinking
obviously.
about what they're gonna have to do when they, if you think about where their septic is, with what they're gonna have to do, bringing the equipment on site to do the well, are they gonna, is the existing septic still, is their existing well, the existing septic, are those gonna still be functional when they bring the heavy equipment on site and start doing what they need to do to start the project?
Again, your time frame is sooner, I'm assuming it's as soon as approvals are granted. Do you need to go to the Board of Health as well, go to a Board of Health meeting to get
No, so I've spoken with the health agent, and he told me that we do not need to go in front of the Board of Health, but they are taking a serious look into this, and they're actually waiting to complete their review until we've sorted out the full construction plan of access and protection of the wetlands back there. So yeah, so we sort of need to get our plans fully sorted out with this, but no, as far as I know, they're meeting with the Board of Health.
What's the scale on this plan? 'Cause
Should-
I'm thinking, those slopes,
It should be a 20 scale.
Yeah, 120.
because, I'm looking at the steepness of the slopes, and I'm starting to think, that's where lower growing mature vegetation as opposed to towering white pines, stuff that's not going to grow to a size that all of a sudden it's, we're gonna start having stuff tip over and up out of the ground. Is this maybe a site where we want to think there should be careful thought about the targeted mature height of what gets planted, so that we're not having things come down in storms and the ground getting disturbed?
But, looking at the topography, the way this is, things are gonna be falling away from the house pretty much.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking about, you plant something, you've got big white pines on a slope.
More in the way of shrubs rather than trees.
Right, yeah, is thinking about the number of times a large tree falls over and it takes its root mass with it, and all of a sudden you've got disturbed ground, that then there can be erosion down towards the wetlands? Would be my concern.
What are you proposing?
I'm just thinking.
You would just prefer ground cover over tree
No, I would,
in this particular area because of the
sounds like-
steepness of the slope.
ground covers shrubs, but
Yeah.
not something that's gonna grow more than 10,
And
15
there's also
feet tall.
the abundance of trees elsewhere, so.
Yeah, and there are trees in the wetlands. We don't wanna, my thought would be,
I get it, you wanna put up the appropriate type of,
yeah,
if it be a tree or a shrub or what have you, just make
Can
sure
we-
it's appropriate to,
yeah,
the topography.
so that we're not worried down the road about destabilizing the slopes.
So would you revisit that after the plant, after the
Yeah,
installation?
I think it can be
After.
concurrent, while, the
Oh.
plans, kind of the
Okay.
other materials, other information is, kind of sorted out and provided to the commission, I think is,
this is gonna need an order of conditions, so it's the kind of thing that we can,
yeah, we'll be continuing,
We'll be
Yeah.
continuing this, we
Yeah,
have other
but it's
discussion too
also-
in regards to this, so.
yeah, but if it's, if we're not to the point where we've got the plantings figured out, there can be a condition that says,
I think it
review it
needs
with
to
the
wait.
agent. Yeah. Did you have any?
Nope, I had nothing further.
Other-
Just one thing, on the plan, a poly barrier is proposed between the septic system and, as kind of part of the drainage, components. A poly barrier is proposed to kind of direct, the leaching of the system.
On two sides, yeah.
Yes. on
Right,
two sides.
right.
So-
Yeah, exactly. That's supporting the drainage system, and if you're not familiar, a poly barrier is just an impervious barrier that's preventing water from flowing in that direction. So we've provided that around the leaching field to not only prevent the water that's infiltrating from the drain pipe, but just generally runoff and groundwater that's moving in that direction. So it's just sort of an added layer of protection.
That was all I had.
Any comments or questions from members of the audience? If you come up to the mic and identify yourself, please.
Kathy DeShane, I'm at 86 Tadmuck Road, so that's right on top of my property line. My husband and I have some concerns about I keep hearing and reading, I looked through the meeting packet, things are being said like, given what we're dealing with, this is a good system, not this is a good system. So we're a little concerned that this is, we share the groundwater, and our house has the wetlands behind it as well, with all kinds of great wildlife. So I'm a little concerned about hearing those words, that it's as good as we can get when I'm sharing the water. And I had a question too about what the manholes look like. How do they, do they emit an odor? Do they, what are they, how are they designed?
Yeah, so if you guys don't mind, if we can scroll down to the details. So the manholes will not be emitting any sort of smells. So there's actually two proposed. The first is the drop inlet. So that has the beehive grate on top, which allows water to flow in but prevents any dirt or leaves from falling through. So that's proposed just down gradient of the drain pipe. And then we have our mini manhole, which is just a flat top solid cover, so not graded at all. And no, there's no odor expected to emit from that. This is purely storm water that's going through it. And then just in response to the design of the sewage disposal system, this is a system that is it is a good design, and it's fully compliant with Title V. The Board of Health is still reviewing it, and we certainly wouldn't want to pose any risk to the community, to the owner of this land, or to the bordering vegetated wetlands. So, we've implemented measures to further protect other people's systems, by siting the leaching field in this particular location. Septic systems, this has been fully designed to the standards of Title V. Again, so we're providing enough leaching area for the capacity for the design flow that's going through it. This system is fully adequate for the dwelling that it's serving. And it's going to recycle wastewater in an environmentally stable way, as any septic system would. So I don't think it's going to be making any negative impacts to the groundwater. And like I said, it's a system that's going to be fully compliant under Title V. It doesn't require any crazy waivers that we'd have to go in front of the board with. So I don't think there should be any concern over the overall safety of this system.
That was my main concern. I know I spoke with Abby in the health department. I talked to her this week, and Matt was nice enough to come out and walk through some stuff with us. I would like to hear from the health department before a vote is taken. I don't know if you guys were going to continue it or not, but
Yeah,
I'd like to get
We
their.
will be continuing because we have to draft the orders, but also we tend to wait till other boards have made their approvals, reached their decisions before we close an issue.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So I have a question in regards to this. I know you did the radius around the other two well fields, private wells. I'm assuming this one is well outside the 100 to your proposed septic
Yes.
property.
So I personally measured the well to the left. I believe that's 86 Tadmuck. Yeah, so I that one I can confirm. I went out there and I pulled the tie to that. The wells across the street were located by our survey crew, so we know the exact location of those. But again, like I said, I pulled the tie to that one over there, and it was very
Well,
far.
just when I look at this, I just want to, put that, owner in a certain amount of comfort level, saying, hey, the proposed leaching field is here, but your well is at least 100 X feet away from it, so, you're more than meeting the compliance initiative there.
Sure, we could certainly do that. And to be honest, I don't even. I wouldn't hold me to this, but I don't even think it would show up on the page. It's that far away. But we can certainly locate it
I
just
just didn't
for
know where it
ease of
was.
mind.
Okay, yep. Yes,
You know, as far as the well is concerned, the new well, I just don't know where else, you know, they would put it if they didn't put it in that location.
right.
Yep.
We just need to make sure that we've mapped out, or that the design maps out a process for installing the well that has no adverse impact.
And then that the current one needs to be abandoned in accordance with the proper abandonment procedures.
That little bit, the current well will be abandoned.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're, good
My
evening.
name is Ronald DeShane, 86 Tadmuck Road. Thank you for allowing me to speak. So if this project gets approved, you're talking 20 trees coming down, putting in a new well, putting in a new septic. How long are we talking about as a timeline of all this work being done?
I don't have that exact number. I can definitely speak with the well installer and the septic installer and try to get that number for you. If I had to guess, maybe a month and a half, maybe. That's just a very rough guess, though. But I can provide that answer for you.
Because my concern is we've lived there for 25 years. We've kept our property up. My concern is any damage to my property. I know you're going to do the best you can, but we got a telephone pole right there on the corner of the property. Plus, my wife has a chronic illness, and I just retired, so, you know, having, for a month and a half of having trucks showing up 7 o'clock in the morning, taking down 20 trees, I don't know. Thank you.
I completely understand, but unfortunately, this project is very necessary for, you know, the operation of this, or for the owner of this home to actually live here. So I understand this isn't the greatest project, and we'd really like to reduce our clearing of trees and construction area, but I really think this is the best we can get as far as our limit of construction here, so.
So, with where we are with the Board of Health,
I mean, we can certainly continue it 2 weeks to the commission's next meeting if, you know, materials aren't available by next Friday. You know, we're more than happy to continue to the first meeting in March and, you know,
Sure.
until time is, you know, sufficient information has been provided for the commission's to review.
Yeah, I'd definitely be okay with that.
can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to February 28th?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, and you, no, they're still also waiting for the DEP file number?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes, just quick update. I did notice they indicated a comment saying fee, so I did give them a call earlier, and I haven't heard back, but I do plan to take care of that.
You said they had a comment concerning what?
They just need to match up the fee and the
Oh,
application.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to our 7:35 PM agenda item, it's a public hearing for MIT Waterline Extension from 105 Groton Road to Millstone Hill Road to Millstone Road to 99 Millstone Road.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, February 14th, 2024, at 7:35 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the Notice of Intent application of Massachusetts Institute of Technology for the installation of approximately 12,000 linear feet of new water line and one booster station from 105 Groton Road westerly to Millstone Hill Road, then northwesterly to Millstone Road, terminating at 99 Millstone Road. A portion of the work will temporarily impact bordering vegetative wetlands, inland bank, land under waterways, bordering land subject to flooding, and riverfront area. Work within the existing right-of-ways may occur within the 100-foot buffer of two bordering vegetated wetlands and bank.
Good evening.
My name is Alyssa Jacobs. I'm with Epsilon Associates. I'm here on behalf of MIT. I have with me this evening, I have Kyle Eads from MIT's Environmental Health and Safety Office, as well as Project Manager Phil Riccardi, Project Engineer Paul Smith, to answer any questions. So we are here tonight with the proposal for the installation of an extension of the town of Westford's existing water line, starting at approximately 105 Groton Road and continuing westerly onto Millstone Hill Road and then northerly onto Millstone Road. So the proposed project will ultimately terminate up at the facility at the top of the hill at the MIT Haystack facility. With the exception of the focus of this application, all of the work is proposed within the roadway itself. In Westford, there is a proposal for a 12-inch water line installation, associated hydrants, and residential connections along Groton Road and Millstone Hill Road. The portion that will impact wetland resource areas is the crossing of Snake Meadow Brook along Groton Road. In this location, so if it's helpful, Matt, it's Plan C-108.
When I get there.
Yep. I know, it's just a few pages there. And so this proposed crossing will impact, all the identified resource areas, BVW, Inland Bank, Riverfront area, and BLSF. However, these impacts proposed are temporary and limited to the footprint of the water line installation and the area that needs to be dewatered in order for this installation to occur. So in order to install the water line in this location, the brook will be bypassed by putting in a steel sheet cofferdam on the south side at the existing culvert with an iron pipe about, an 18-inch diameter pipe to maintain the flow under the roadway, and then move that flow to the north side of the project area where a sandbag cofferdam will be installed in order to isolate the work area from the wetlands or the surrounding resource areas. And then the area interior between the two cofferdams will be dewatered into a sediment filter bag, and the area will be via a sump, and so that dewatered condition will be maintained throughout the trench work for the installation of the water line. So we've identified on the plans the location of the sump pump, the dewatering filter bag, as well as potential, the ideal access points and stockpile areas. So what you can see in the plan, the green is the area of basically dewatered BVW. And then the blue is the dewatered stream itself, land underwater. And the water line will come along the north side of the roadway, and it's going to come down the shoulder of the roadway at this location. We are constrained. There's an existing stormwater culvert here, as well as the culvert itself for Snake Meadow Brook. So they're kind of threading the needle here. They will cross at this point along the shoulder, work around the guardrail, and then go back up to the roadway. There are approximately 6 trees in this location that will need to come down in order to install the water line here. Those are box elder and maple trees. A couple of them are in poor condition, and then they're already trimmed back significantly due to the overhead utility line in that area as well. The entire work area will be surrounded by silt fence and wattles in order to protect the resource areas. This is the proposed stockpile location. So the materials, the trenching will occur, and essentially material will be side cast, and then the water line will be installed and then backfilled and restored back to prior grade. We'll stockpile the wetland soil that'll be restored in place, and that will be reseeded. We did look at alternative methodologies to avoiding impacts to the wetlands, or the temporary impacts to the wetland resource areas. Originally, we were looking to do a horizontal directional drill in this location, but due to the extensive bedrock and boulders, there's also a big stone wall just that crosses the stream right here. Logistically, the horizontal directional drilling just was not feasible. So MIT owns this property parcel right here. This is privately held land, so they did not have access on the south side of the roadway, and any work in that would likely result in more temporary impacts to resource areas on that side. So for those reasons, this was determined to be the least impactful and most efficient crossing of Snake Meadow Brook.
Because it wasn't immediately obvious to me, just for everybody, the north is down on this because of the way the stationing of the project.
Oh. I've been looking at these
North is
plans for
south,
so,
yeah.
yes, so north is down, yes, thank you, Kyle.
It allowed for the linear layout of the drawings, but
I was surprised when you were saying you have owned this side, but not that side. I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Thank you, that was a very important detail I omitted.
I didn't want to cut you off during your group.
I was in a group. Let's see, what else can I tell you about this crossing? So we've proposed, or we've detailed out a approximately 5-foot wide trench. It may not need to be that wide, but we wanted to give the contractor some flexibility in their installation. And to the extent feasible, equipment for this install will occur from the roadway. So it'll be a reach over here. There'll be no equipment on the wetland on this side. This impact area is strictly from the dewatering and bypass effort.
Isn't there a grate or something to keep the beavers out of the
Yeah, I was out there this afternoon. There is a beaver deceiver, low flow device extending out about 30 feet. So
That's already covered in your plan as to how to deal with that?
So whatever the pre-existing condition is, it'll be restored.
Okay.
So the bypass is really just to maintain flow and not obviously flood out the south side of the roadway.
What's the expected duration for this part of the project?
So from start to finish, in conversations with the contractor, they're conservatively estimating, I think 25 days. And again, that's conservative to, from start to finish with the perimeter control installation, the sandbag cofferdam, the steel plate installation, the bypass, the pump down.
So would the beaver deceivers stay in place during that time? I'm just thinking if we've got beavers in the area, we don't want them messing up your plan.
Well, it's a steel plate that we're proposing to put in.
yeah, so I mean, in
really
terms
impressed.
of the grate,
Other.
the current grate is a little mangled.
Okay.
So and the pipe from the flow control device there's a
So they wouldn't be able to get their,
no, actually, I'm more concerned about the grate on the north side of the road that is pulled away and.
okay.
Yeah, so we can restore that, in place.
I'm getting access from the north side, but.
Yeah, well, I don't think that would happen really during construction, or we'd make sure we get that back in place. Because it'll be a lot of activity there. I'm sure that the beavers,
They'll figure it out.
they might come by to say hi, hello, whack their tails a little bit, but.
Okay.
Other areas of concern? No.
No, okay. Any comments or questions from members of the audience?
They're gonna be replanting these ones that they cut down, these 4 or 5? The maple and the other ones that have been trimmed down and,
Well, there's no proposal to replant the trees over the water line. I don't think that would be in the best interest.
no, just in a similar area,
Oh, in a
not
similar
putting them
area.
over, but.
Yeah, we can find a better location.
Well, and I know that there are utility lines in this area as well. Does that maybe dictate the type of replacement trees? We don't want something that's gonna eventually grow up and,
Just didn't know if there was a place that we could put some up that's not gonna interfere with utilities or anything else in the general vicinity.
it's a good question.
We ask everybody to plant if they can, if they cut, so.
Yeah,
They can get back to this.
yeah, and.
Yeah, it doesn't have to
Take
be
a look
entered right at the moment.
constraints and,
Yeah.
Look at
you know,
that and get
a
back to
lower
us.
growing, you know, sapling, shrub might be more beneficial. Something with wildlife habitat, I would presume.
And far enough away that the side mower can't get to it.
That's true. So what is the reach of that?
Just saying, they, you know,
They're
let's,
exuberant. Yeah, there's also a lot of stone walls in that area, so that, you know, we want to stay away from those as well.
So, and this is not waiting on any other reviews in town?
no, DP has yet to issue a file number, but I imagine they'll.
So we're
get
just gonna continue this to our next
And,
until.
I mean, just wanted to be included for the record, there are, additional water line work within 100 feet, within the roadway, within 100 feet, subject to the commission's, or subject to the local wetland bylaw, but exempt under the act. So that's also, again, that's why there's pages of,
No, I get it.
yeah, but I just wanted in the record, you know, for, you know, so.
There's also, at the corner of Millstone Hill and Millstone on MIT property, a booster station. It sounds bigger than it is. It's a smaller footprint of work within the buffer zone. Yep, so right. So it's in the buffer zone to this, locally jurisdictional stream. It's just this little booster station.
Now, are you also filing with,
We had our hearing last night in Tingsboro, for work in Tingsboro, and then there's no wetland resource areas in Groton, but we are filing an RDA just for them to issue, you know, have their review and confirmation of that as well.
okay,
Mostly because the local bylaws don't allow for the exemption of utilities and roadways.
so we would continue to the 28th?
Yeah, I can certainly draft, if that works for, you know, again, with the other stuff, but, you know, Groton and Tingsboro really have too much going on in them, but.
And a motion?
We're closed in Tingsboro.
Oh, okay.
Closed?
Yep, we
Okay.
closed last night.
Public?
Did I, oh, I thought I already asked.
I don't remember.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have, any members of the audience with comments or questions?
It's the second time you asked.
Okay, I forget, it's
Yeah.
longer.
Better twice than not at all, so.
True.
Are you
And I'm
finding that the region's taking a little extra
No,
issuing? No?
I'm surprised that this one and the last one, I'm surprised that they haven't gotten
Oh, okay.
to us.
It seems to be being cursed, I guess.
A motion to continue.
Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to February 28th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I like your laser pointer.
Yep. Okay. So, moving on to discussion and action items. Okay.
Stony Brook Conservation Area User Concern follow-up. We did receive a email from resident or in attendance. If I'm still working on the policies and procedures. Things just got away from me since the last meeting, but for the attendant, to how they handle things and what their timeframes of work and scope of activities will be.
And I think, Jim,
I think I've been an outlier in how I like to get the rules enforced or followed there on the property. I'm more inclined to use infrequent but strategically scheduled police details to go onto the property on sunny, warm weekend days, afternoons, only in the summertime. I think that's the only time we have the problem. And I think the rest of the commission's mostly been in line with hiring high school kids to do monitoring all the time.
well, hiring attendants so that the beach there is staffed the same way the town's recreation beaches are. I think we had a problem in the past in terms of, I don't know that we, can we,
I mean, I can request details. If the commission wants to.
It's way more expensive, but we don't need it every day.
But if the commission wants me to request details, I mean, but again, we're going to be requesting a detail on Thursday for a nice Saturday.
Based on a forecast, yep.
And if we're at the discretion of the police department staffing
Who they
it,
staff
somebody,
and what the rate
and
is.
so,
I don't think we can afford it.
I mean, that's a whole nother, I can get what a 4-hour, detail is, because, there's a detail
Hope
minimum.
you're sitting down, Jim.
but I think it's also important to note that, based on the concerns that were expressed last summer, Jim and I, on our own at random times on 3 separate weekends, went there in the afternoon to do observation, and we saw absolutely no prohibited activities.
Actually empty beaches, yeah.
And sometimes the beaches were empty. We were there that lovely Labor Day weekend. It wasn't even crowded.
Yeah.
So some of it is, I think.
Timing.
No, I think what's happened is because we've been paying attention and actions are taken. I know some people have called the non-emergency line. I think that message has started to get out to the people who are coming and behaving, doing prohibited activities. Marilyn?
I was going to say, do we have any idea what it would cost us to hire somebody from the high school as opposed to the police department?
So in turn, I proposed from Memorial Day to Labor Day, 2 staffers. Again, you don't want to have just one person there, 2 attendants. For weekends, I forget what the number was. It was about $7,500 for the entirety of the summer.
For
Saturday,
3
Sundays,
months.
3 months, 2 people per weekend, or 2 days per
Do we have
weekend.
that?
Yeah, especially in the between the revolving in the
I would
EDC
rather do
revolving.
that. And if
Right,
they
and
run
that's what
into
we've
trouble-
been, and the rec department has been very helpful in offering to, include that with their hiring of the beach attendants, with the understanding that, there will likely need to be a little higher level of skill at this location as opposed to, because you won't be, immediately.
There needs to be a little training.
Yeah, you want a college student as opposed to a high school student, would be, to.
I would rather start that way. And then if we ran into trouble, then follow what you said with the police department. I don't think we can afford the
I
police
don't want to run
department.
into any trouble with the kids. And some of the crowds that are there.
They're not supposed to engage as much
Right,
as they
but
are
if there
to-
is,
to report it or
again,
make a
and
phone
that's why,
call.
and that was the intention behind, a college student as opposed to, a 16-year-old who,
But they can make a phone call to the
right,
police department.
exactly,
and-
they can
and
make,
that's
they can
they
do,
have a
it's the same,
direction,
it's the
right?
same procedures,
It's the
that
same, yes,
would
because,
occur at the,
That's the
beach,
direction I
at
noticed.
one of the beaches.
well, and that was also part of the correspondence we received, was that people had been noticing the same type of activities at the town two of the town's recreation beaches as well. So it wasn't
just
it
ours.
wasn't just the East Boston camp. So yes, I think all beach attendants, and we probably need the club students, but all beach attendants need the training in terms of you see prohibited activities, this is the steps you take.
And then, I mean, if we see if that doesn't work, then we up the ante, we figure out another way to go. I'd rather start that, that's my personal opinion.
Hi,
Identify yourself first, June.
June McMorrow, Kings Pine Road. So I don't go to the other two beaches, so I don't really know what goes on up there. But I know one of the issues at East Boston camps, the Stony Brook Conservation Land, is alcohol. And I'm not really sure what the setups are like at the other two beaches, but the Stony Brook Conservation Land is a little bit remote. It's in off the road, maybe probably about a half a mile in the woods. So it's a little bit isolated. And it's been my observation over the past so many years that I've been walking up there that alcohol is a big problem up there. And of course, with alcohol, we know comes stupid behavior. So I guess I wasn't aware that you were thinking about two young adults. But certainly, I don't think one young adult would be safe up there, because it's been my observation that intimidation and threatening behavior has happened up there more than once. It's happened to me, and I've heard it from other people. I'm not sure, is alcohol a problem at the other town beaches? What do you hear? I don't know.
I don't know. Again, not
You don't know.
not operating
Not
on.
down in Edwards, anyway. I don't know about.
I mean, and again, that's,
Yeah,
you know.
it was one member of the public who had sent us a letter in the fall, and I believe she had talked about music, and I forget what, I don't think there was grilling, but I thought but anyway, it seemed like there was also, sometime the same there were instances of people doing prohibited activities at the beaches. You know, and this is the beaches on Nab Pond or Nab Lake.
On Nab, is Edwards Beach on Nab Lake?
Yes.
Okay, I've never been there, and I don't know, have any idea what it looks like. I know, the other one is Forge Pond, right? And Forge Pond is really in the middle of everything, I think. It's not very far in off the road, and I think, it's not in the middle of the woods. So I think that drinking of alcohol is probably less likely to happen at a place like that. So I appreciate you discussing this. And, I just would like to see the things that I have spoken to you about in the past and written about, and I know lots of people have talked to me about it. I'd like to see something happen so people feel safe up there.
If we started where we had someone at the beaches, and they had a protocol, and whether it's two together or whatever, we would find out fast enough whether that was sufficient. Then I can see calling the police department to come in, but somebody would be there. Then we don't want them to engage, but we want them to.
No, I don't think you want them to engage. No, because
we would want them to be there.
These are people in their 20s and 30s, and there have been times when there have been 40 and 50 people on the beach, and I would not want a young adult
Understood.
getting,
That would be our first foray into it and taking a look if it's a
Okay.
big problem in that.
Okay.
And we figure out if we can afford.
Well, and some of it is I think also by starting at the beginning of the summer, you also get the message out that says this is no longer an unmonitored beach.
so it sounds like right now you're not really sure what you're going to do, but you think to have somebody who was recruited by the rec department for Saturdays and Sundays for X number of hours would be about, for two people, would be about $7,500
For the summer, yes.
for the summer, for like, what, 8 weeks or something? Like, I don't know.
From Memorial Day through Labor Day.
Noon to 4 or 5 o'clock is.
Yeah, I think it was, I think 11 to 5 was,
That would be
what was
fine, yeah.
originally.
That's really.
what I'd thought of.
And we'll monitor and see if it's effective or,
So are you gonna discuss this further, or is your plan to ask?
I mean, this was previously discussed, December or January. Where are we, February now? Yeah. And so in terms of, I think flushing out the details of this is, the next, it's just,
Okay.
this is the plan going,
Well, that would be
this is
great.
the plan to, as discussed with the commission, to implement, and, hopefully that curtails the, prohibited behaviors, and, that, just by having somebody there,
It's a beginning.
It's the first step, and then if we see more action is needed, we will know what more action
We'll have
is
to do
needed.
something else.
Yeah.
But at least we'll have an eye on it, at least we'll have someone there. At least you have the ability to someone call the police department. Something's really happening up here right now. It's very different than putting a police officer up there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
We're trying.
Thanks.
So do you need a vote that says that we do this?
No,
No, we have direction.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
okay. So, Edwards Woods. Oh,
I don't have an update, but I can certainly, just kind of tying into the tree warden seedling program, see if there is the capability of purchasing some seedlings, whether shrub seedlings or tree seedlings. Again, that's another very shady area, kind of similar like Freedom Park if we get to that, for targeted, some targeted planting, to, help facilitate the renaturalization. And again, even in, my one concern with seedlings, but also probably with any planting there is, have some form of fencing to keep out the critters. I'd prefer not to just use the seedlings as, food for the,
Feed them.
yeah, feed them once and then, come back and there's, the tough.
Yeah, the people that are dumping there probably would just pick those up and get rid of them.
or bury them.
Yeah, or walk over them, yeah.
Yeah, that's, yeah. Okay,
I do not have an update on the Summer Village CR. No, I do not.
well, and now that's sitting with somebody else, right?
Yeah, I need to coordinate and figure things out where things are at. And move on.
Okay.
Freedom Park improvements. I did speak with the property owners of, you can come up, with the abutting parcel to Freedom Park at 9 Pond Street. They will be attending the commission's meeting on the 28th with respect to future fencing there, what they want to see for future fencing, again, kind of working through this. Jim, why didn't you recommend, as a fence viewer, how to amicably resolve this? I completely forgot.
Are supposed to resolve issues between neighbors.
Oh, okay. Well, good to know we have one on call. And then the other additional, kind of once again tying back in the tree wording, seed the seedlings, the proposed, some of the areas from the previously identified, improvement plan, where there were some native species to be planted, we can start, I think that's a fantastic location for, some seedlings to get installed and kind of establish some of those native plant beds.
Especially ones that are shade tolerant.
Right, shade tolerant and, adjacent to, not just, some disturbed areas,
Good evening. Excuse me. Jim Kaziniak, I'm Marisha Taylor's brother. So I think she's communicated with the chair as far as her interest in Freedom Park and upgrading it. And as you know, she does have a foundation. She's willing to contribute as needed to that park. And I would also mention that I think one of the concerns through the Historical Commission, and she's been working with Jeff Hall, she's also funding the Sullivan Monument that's going there, because it actually is a historical site. The Sullivan Boathouse was a very historical site there that burnt down, and the Sullivan son was the author of the GI Bill during the end of World War II. So it's a monument going there. So there's some concern that, not concern, but some interest in making sure that that's maintained properly, not a monument in the middle of a weed patch. So she is willing to contribute to that as need be. And then she's working with Jeff Hall also. I'm not trying to preempt the interest of the neighbors, but Jeff spoke to the neighbors one day this week, and I was with him, and they're interested in having that stockade fence exactly where it is improved. I think they're also interested in having this fence behind the backstop of the backboard, the basketball backboard, higher, because kids, the ball ends up in their yard all the time.
Oh, okay.
So that's, I'm not speaking for them, but I know that's what they have a concern about. But again, my sister's willing to work with you folks to upgrade that. She's a neighbor, and it's a dense area. A lot of people come from the mill, they walk there, they walk their dogs there. There is some concern about dog activity and dog poop not being cleaned up there. So that's probably something that could be in addition to that park, and I think she's done all that through an email to you folks.
Yes.
But I'm just reiterating her concern and her ability to use her foundation to spiff that up and keep it up.
So-
And that's kind of what her interest is.
Yeah, so one of the things, a member who's not here tonight, Noel Almeida, he and his son are involved with the scout troop that did the original project back in
Yes.
2008, 2009, and we have been communicating with them about enlisting scouts to do some of the corrective actions, some of the things that were not completed in 2008, 2009. I know that the scouts would be very happy to have financial assistance for
Yeah.
the purchase of materials, et cetera. We really want to engage with volunteers so that we encourage the volunteer activity of young people that have done so much for the town, keeps people interested in how the park is looking, and just, is just that cooperation between the town and the residents to really take care of the property.
So
Okay.
we're gonna do something, but it's gonna be with that group, and it won't be till the spring.
But they won't be, the scouts certainly won't be able to do the fencing.
Oh, yes, they will.
They'll be able to put it up.
We've already,
I would think it would take some machinery, if it's stockade fenced.
this is
would-
something that was one of the first questions we asked the troop leader, and he said, yes, he said, and in fact, they have people who worked on the original project as well.
Okay.
So that, they've built footbridges for us, they've done a lot of things, they've,
Inspections, it's not like they can just do it, they have to
Yeah.
go through the proper
Yeah.
channels.
yes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
with the variety of Eagle Scout projects we've had them do for us, they have demonstrated that they can, with adult leadership, they can accomplish an awful lot
A
of
lot of
things.
bridges for us, a lot of.
Yes, I've seen a lot of
Yeah.
that, so.
So,
But-
so the message here is that we are gonna do something, but we're
Okay.
gonna use those volunteers. And spring is probably, as it warms up.
Yeah.
that's
Sure,
the time.
sure, yeah. So I'm just reiterating, she's in Florida, she would
Yeah.
have been here had she not been. Just kind of reiterating what her interests are and her ability to contribute.
Yes, and
to
I,
participate in the project to any extent to upgrade whatever's necessary.
Yes.
She's willing to do that.
We promise.
yes.
Okay.
And we appreciate her generosity.
Thank you, thank you. Happy Valentine's Day.
You, same to
Thanks
you.
for sitting through the whole meeting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Talk about dedication.
Nice sitting on that side for one.
A whole meeting you sat through.
Good. Okay, so, so we will have, the owners of 9 Pond Street with us. And, so we will have, hopefully pictures to look at. Okay. The 28th, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay,
I do not have an update on the CR 28 at Jarvis Hill Estates at this time.
okay,
The select board at their meeting last night voted to accept all the easements for Di Donato Drive. There is one of interest to the commission. It is to construct, maintain, use the trail, provide permanent and perpetual public access to the trail which accesses other land owned by the town. It is identified as the green area on the annotated plan. This was a part of the approved, was included as a portion of the OOC for Lot 6. So if there are any questions, I can
We
certainly.
talked about some kind of marking.
It's
either
in
down
the
center
order.
or the
It's in
edges.
the order, yep.
So this is just this is accepting the easements.
Yes, a public trail easement, on behalf of the town.
Okay.
Again, the select board approved them, or accepted them last night. If they're
Like an order, you'd like a motion?
to accept the trail easement from the commission, and there are 3 pages to sign. Please don't forget the 3rd one. Thank you.
Can I have a motion to accept the trail easement? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
The agricultural conservation land, I'm still working with the lessee and their brother to get the things prior to extending the lease. So that's just, it's more a placeholder than anything. The next item on the agenda is Margaret's signing away. We received an email, myself and Sue Thomas as the sustainability coordinator. Kyle, who needs to change his email signature as he is now the director of public works. He is as the town's tree warden. The Massachusetts Tree Wardens and Foresters Association holds a fundraiser to plant seedlings. You can buy trays, 100 counts. His intent is to distribute them to the public to be planted on private properties and just overall increase, trees.
Kind of like what they did with the catalpa trees. What was that, 50 years ago?
What?
The catalpa trees, do you remember that? They
Yes.
did that same thing.
So, I have identified a couple places, between the Edwards Woods and Freedom Park where certainly, if I haven't had the chance to delve into the shrubs, or kind of the more, if they're going to be shade tolerant and would be appropriate, but certainly I would be interested in getting some to increase, to kind of restart some naturalization.
Volunteers there too.
For- exactly,
Scouts. Use Girl Scouts.
Yep, no, and there certainly are, and again, in the correspondence, did receive an email from alumni of Bates College, namely Christy Bates. They were looking to do an Arbor Day, Bates College Day of Service. So I certainly connected her with the Westford Conservation Trust. I also forwarded this email to Rich Stratus and the Westford Conservation Trust, as they, I know in the past, have done acquired seedlings to distribute and to have private citizens plant. This was more, again, just educational. If anybody has any other pieces, I can certainly share.
Any other properties?
Yeah, any other properties, we can, again, I don't think the orders need to be received by the beginning of April, so.
The center of town, common. We lost all those trees during the 2010 ice storm. You haven't placed, no.
Not my property. It's not my. Talk to the select board. CPC application discussion follow-up. The CPC at their meeting on the 6th, last Tuesday, voted to approve the $190,000 request to add to the Conservation Land Trust Fund. Additionally, they voted to approve the supplemental funds for the O'Brien Farm footbridge project. They found that the other 2 projects, the OSRP update and the management plan preparation, didn't
Fit the criteria.
didn't fit the criteria. I disagree, but
It's okay.
So there will be 2 requests, the 2 applications that were approved, recommended. I think recommended is what they do. they recommended those two projects. So,
They were, the two big ones were approved.
yeah, approved, recommended. I don't know what the actual term was.
So now it has to pass town meeting, and I'm going before the FinCom tomorrow night and the select board too.
With the plan to hire a consultant to do an assessment of,
They felt we could pay out of our own funds. What didn't
Okay.
fit that criteria, Tootie, the chair, that said that.
was that the information she got from the coalition? And I'd like to see something more specific that, for example, understand the mechanics of, so that if we have if there's something similar we're looking at in the future, we better understand what we can bring forward and what we can't.
I've said that, but I think that we need some more explanation so people understand more what criteria would count and which wouldn't.
Well, and
so we'll work on that.
Yeah, because I look at how.
You won't have it just for yourself. I think we'll work on that for the public.
Right, because I could hear that the Recreation Commission, that parts of their project were maybe not something the coalition was on.
Pieces of it.
Yes, and it's nice to, if there are pieces, it's nice to have that visibility so that as we craft future applications, we can better tailor what.
I'll work on that.
Yeah, okay, because I think, it just.
It helps, I get it.
It helps, it helps us.
There's more definition that might have set it apart so that you would have said, oh, we can't do this, but we can.
Or looking at part of it we can do and part of it we can't. And yes, I think
I
we'd
felt
like
good
that.
Even with the amount of money that we have, and because we need that kind of money if we were buying property, that they still.
Well, we can't, but also, my understanding is we cannot use the Conservation Land Trust money to do that kind of assessment.
Not for those things, no.
Right, yes, so some of it
You
is.
can buy property.
Yes.
They did ask how much we have, and we
Yeah,
have $1
right, I
million.
mean, and right.
And this year, when you had more applications, and it's
Yeah.
a harder year, that might not have been given, so I was happy to see that fly.
Yeah, and I guess my concern looking forward is because we have all of these properties that we're responsible for, is we may not have the budgets to do the assessments that we might need and other things. So some of it is we don't always necessarily have funds that we can use for those types of assessments that we had talked about, and it just, so some of this is finding out what are all the tools available to us and what can CPA
I'll see if we
money.
can broaden the understanding of that in some fashion.
Yes.
We'll work on that.
Yeah, so that we know what's permissible and what isn't, so that we can write our
On another
paper
note,
better
I think
next
if
time.
we have money, we should find money to do what we've asked.
Yep, I certainly
it's really,
can,
really
I can
I
circle back
agree.
with the
And so
town
we do
accountant
it that way
and,
to start.
Yeah.
for next, for the next meeting, I can have kind of some
Great.
idea about where there are pots of money that can be used.
And we still have to go through the process of tomorrow night, the FinCom and the select board take positions. And I'll present to them tomorrow night. They've usually been very supportive. And then town meeting has to approve it.
Minutes of January 24th. Anybody have any comments or questions? No. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of January 24th, 2024?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Recorded a site visit. Okay. Are we ready to go into executive session? Okay. So I move to enter an executive session to consider the purchase or value of real property as an open session may have a detrimental effect on the town's negotiating position, and will reconvene in open session solely for the purpose of adjourning the meeting. Can I have a motion? Can I have a second? All those in favor? Eric?
Yes.
I had to do it individually. Yeah, by roll call. So Eric's, yes.
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann? Yes. And Margaret, yes.